Hey, Nation, Harry here, back with Joshua Liberman. Joshua, it only took about 2 years to correctly enunciate your last name. I finally got it. How you doing, man?
I'm fine, Harry. Thanks very much for your exceptional efforts.
We want to hit the story of the day head on, Kaseya, and just your opinion. I realize you don't have any inside information. I don't either. It's the topic of the day. So what do you know to be true? And I have a couple questions for you. So what's going on? What happened?
Well, what I've pieced together so far is that not long ago, in the last week, there was the announcement of a 0-day or 0 days based attack, apparently with two different 0-day vulnerabilities that were leveraged. It sounded to me like an injection attack. It was side-loaded through Windows Defender, very clever stuff. And who was affected were their on-prem people. So anybody who ran a Kaseya on-prem was potentially subject to this attack. Kaseya, for the most part, seems like they've done a very good job of being straightforward about this. Some people are arguing about whether they patched their own servers first at the expense of those with their on-prem, so their hosted stuff first. I don't know if that's true, but I presume that they would be patching those things in real time as soon as they found out about it. I think it's all going to boil down to the discovery and how they basically release the information. But as far as I can tell, they've been forthright and they've been working pretty diligently. Some of the fears seem unwarranted. I don't know that I've spoken with anybody directly who's been affected by this, and their claims are still that they're in the they're double digits, 40, 50, 60 direct partners or MSPs. But then up the hill from them, people like Synex were apparently affected as well. And of course, that can affect a whole lot more people. So I don't think we have very many big answers. But I think one of the takeaways is that, once again, we have to do all the diligence, but there's not enough we can do as MSPs and individuals to be certain that this can't happen to us. Obviously, SolarWinds was penetrated, and now Kaseya. In the past, others, various remote control facilities have been penetrated and weaponized. It's hard to imagine that it won't effectively reach just about everybody. Last hour's discussion was, will every vendor eventually be penetrated? Yes, that would probably be true, but I think what's more likely is that enough of them will be penetrated, those with marginal practices or where there's insider information or insider placements. Eventually, a lot of them will be, but I don't think we'll have an industry long enough for every vendor to be penetrated. I think there'll be fundamental changes before that happens.
Yeah, let's talk about the bad guys now know what a channel is. The MSP, the one who, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, 4 dozen clients, right? So if you can use the MSP as an attack vector, I mean, we've had this talk. I've had it with you and other analysts probably the last couple of years. This just got real. Kaseya is now a word on the national news. And any thoughts on that? I mean, it is, the bad guys, they're smarter than they look, man.
Well, they looked pretty smart to me 22 years ago when I actually met them. When we were still toying with, should we get an email address at our federal organizations, there were already organized, sponsored, trained groups of hackers working in various foreign nations trying to figure out how to weaponize the world's largest network, which is what the internet was. When I first started to play around in the early 90s, 92, 93, I was at DOE, I had access to DARPANet, and I also discovered a web browser, which I think was in 93, but I was using get and put commands, and I was downloading and reading papers from universities all over the country. It was fascinating. And eventually, I think Leeuwenhoek was the first overseas location, but I could gain access to all these things. And even back then I thought, geez, this seems unwise. I mean, I can put documents places, I can get them, I can do searches for these things. And indeed, it wasn't very much later than that, certainly by 94, that we started to really worry about this. military systems were not on that same network, and SCADA, for what it was back then, was not on that same network. So it wasn't that we were foolish, but we didn't stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And I want to stress that Kaseya is just the name of the week. SolarWinds was the name of the week for about a month, not long ago. And Revel, or our evil, folks that are, at least we understand, to be behind this attack, the JBS attack, and I think, and don't hold me to this, but I think they were determined to be behind the attack on, I can't even think of who it was now, the week before JBS Meatpacking. Anyway, they aren't
Colonial Pipeline.
Yeah, thank you. They aren't technically state-sponsored actors. It's very hard to know. Russia is a very opaque place at the best of times, and these are not the best of times. It's hard to know if they're actually state-sponsored, but they're certainly state-tolerated. And I was alluding to, I once visited what was at the time the largest building in the world, and it was full of people getting on the internet, learning how to attack people getting on the internet. And that was 22 years ago. I'm sorry, that was 27 years ago. Holy crap. We're behind the curve. There's no two ways about it. As much as I am scared and frustrated by what's happening at Kaseya, I want to make sure that we don't want to turn Kaseya into the Q-tips or Kleenex of their category, right? We don't want to start calling this they got Kaseya, because it's going to be somebody else.
Fred, the CEO, Fred Vacola, I consider Fred a friend over at Kaseya. He's having a rough one. Hey, I got to bring this in for a landing. Name your next show that people can go to and meet up with you. Where are you going to be? Well, I got two this month. In the 21st through the 23rd, I'll be in Chicago. 22nd is the full day for that ASCII event they're having in Lincolnshire outside of Chicago. And the week following, I'll be at the Telarus event, which is a telecom master agent. The ASCII event, I'll be attending and shooting headshots, and at the Telarus event, I'll actually be attending and working for one of the vendors in IT security there. He calls it being a booth babe. I'm going to call it a spokesmodel. But anyway, I will be working at their table and speaking for them. So that's in San Diego, by the way, and a different kind of event than most of our IT industry. It's more of a telecom event. It is. All right, my friend. Take care. Thanks. Sure, Harry. Thank you.